The air in the sprawling chemical plant, once thick with the hum of precision machinery and the sharp, invigorating scent of 1,000 crucial reactions, now carries an unsettling quiet. You stand on a dimly lit factory floor in North Rhine-Westphalia, observing the skeletal remains of what was once a bustling, globally competitive operation. Ghostly shadows dance across idle reactors and silent conveyor belts, each a monument to a past era of ceaseless output and unparalleled industrial dominance. Where once highly skilled hands guided complex processes, ensuring the world received its essential materials, now only the faint echo of distant, minimal maintenance crews remains. This isn't merely a localized downturn or a temporary blip. It's a profound, palpable shift. A creeping economic twilight settling over the very industrial heart of Europe. The promise of perpetual growth and unwavering stability, once as solid as the steel girders above you, has eroded, leaving behind a stark, unsettling void where prosperity once reigned. This is not fiction. It is consequence. Tell us in the comments below, where are you watching this from? Your perspective matters, because the story we're about to tell echoes far beyond Germany's borders. You've likely seen the headlines, heard the worried whispers about Germany's industrial slowdown, or perhaps even felt the ripple effects in your own economy. But what if this isn't just a series of unfortunate, disconnected events? What if, beneath the surface of seemingly random global shocks, there lies a meticulously constructed chain of decisions, each one a deliberate step towards an outcome that was not only predictable but, in hindsight, inevitable? We are not here to present a conspiracy, but to reveal a logical, structural unraveling. This video will pull back the curtain on how a nation, renowned for its engineering precision and economic foresight, inadvertently laid the groundwork for its own industrial decline. You are about to understand the precise mechanics of a self-inflicted wound. This story matters because it transcends borders, offering a stark warning to any nation contemplating radical shifts without understanding fundamental dependencies. Few people speak about this with clarity, not because it's secret, but because the truth is complex, uncomfortable, and challenges deeply held beliefs. The narrative you are about to witness cuts through the noise, connecting the dots between ambitious policies and their brutal, real-world consequences. We will demystify the abstract, making the economic and geopolitical forces at play tangible and personal. Prepare to see how grand strategies, when misaligned with reality, can dismantle the very foundations they were meant to strengthen. If you seek explanations that others shy away from, you are in the right place. If you want more deep dives into topics no one else fully explains, hit that subscribe button now and join a community that demands clarity. For decades, Germany stood as the undisputed industrial engine of Europe, a global testament to its post-war economic miracle and the subsequent triumphs of reunification. Imagine a finely tuned machine humming with efficiency, its gears meshing perfectly. This industrial prowess wasn't accidental. It was built upon an unyielding bedrock of reliable, affordably priced energy, unparalleled manufacturing excellence, and a relentless, almost obsessive focus on export dominance. The system, a unique and potent blend of a robust social market economy and legendary engineering precision, appeared inherently stable, almost an immutable law of nature. It was the envy of the world, a model of prosperity where hard work undeniably led to reward, fostering a deep-seated national confidence. This unshakable foundation thrived on a pragmatic, diverse energy mix. Domestic coal provided a steady supply for heavy industry. A sophisticated nuclear fleet offered clean, consistent baseload power. And, critically, an increasingly vast and astonishingly cost-effective supply of natural gas flowed steadily from Russia, becoming the very lifeblood of countless factories. This perceived bounty fueled an implicit promise, not just to industry, but to every citizen. Germany's industrial might was truly invulnerable, capable of adapting to any global challenge without breaking stride. There was a collective illusion, a deeply ingrained belief that the nation could even pioneer a global shift towards green energy without compromising its core economic strengths or competitive edge. The path forward seemed clear, guided by an unwavering confidence in its own ingenuity and the seemingly eternal stability of its energy supply. This was the world Marcus Schmidt knew and trusted. At 52, a skilled chemical engineer, Marcus embodies the diligent backbone of Germany's value-added manufacturing sector. His daily routine at a medium-sized specialty chemicals company in North Rhine-Westphalia was a symphony of precision and purpose, each calculation, each process vital to the global supply chain. A first-generation university graduate from a working-class background, he meticulously built a stable middle-class life through sheer dedication and technical expertise. His central value wasn't abstract. It was the tangible pride of German engineering, the unwavering reliability of his profession, and a steadfast belief in a meritocracy where hard work yielded a predictable, prosperous future. He represented the quiet confidence of a system that rewarded effort. Then, a new vision emerged, heralded as the future. The Energiewende, Germany's ambitious energy transition. This wasn't a sudden whim, but a deeply ingrained strategic pivot, years in the making, designed to steer the nation towards a greener, more sustainable horizon. It promised a cleaner environment, technological leadership, and a future free from the perceived perils of fossil fuels and nuclear power. At its core, the Energiewende represented a profound statement of intent, a bold declaration that Germany could and would lead the world into a new era of renewable energy. This path felt inherently modern, a logical progression for a nation renowned for its foresight and engineering prowess, perfectly aligning with a powerful public consensus pushing for environmental stewardship. It seemed, at the time, an undeniably rational and progressive step for an advanced economy. The catalyst for acceleration arrived with an unexpected, distant tragedy: the Fukushima disaster in 2011. While geographically remote, its psychological impact reverberated across Germany, solidifying public apprehension about nuclear power. This event provided the decisive impetus, transforming a gradual transition into an urgent, unyielding commitment. The German political establishment, riding a powerful wave of public sentiment and environmental advocacy, swiftly moved to an aggressive timeline: the complete decommissioning of its sophisticated nuclear fleet. This wasn't merely a policy adjustment, it was a definitive turning point, a national consensus forged in the crucible of fear and hope, sealing the fate of a critical, stable energy source with seemingly irreversible resolve. The decision was presented as a triumph of safety and environmental responsibility. Yet, beneath this seemingly noble ambition lay a profound structural error, invisible to many at the moment of its inception. The accelerated nuclear phase-out removed a significant, stable portion of Germany's baseload power generation. The constant, reliable energy supply that underpins heavy industry and keeps the lights on regardless of wind or sun. This wasn't a minor adjustment. It was a fundamental alteration to the very fabric of the nation's energy security. The decision was an implicit gamble, a high-stakes bet that renewable energy sources, still nascent in their large-scale capacity, could rapidly scale up to fill this enormous void. It was a leap of faith, driven by conviction, overlooking the immediate, practical necessities of a high-energy industrial economy. The system, once robust, now had a critical, unacknowledged vulnerability. This gamble rested on two precarious pillars. First, the optimistic belief that wind and solar power could achieve industrial-scale reliability and affordability at an unprecedented pace, transforming the energy landscape almost overnight. Second, and crucially, was the assumption that Russian natural gas would remain an endlessly cheap and supremely reliable bridge fuel, seamlessly filling any gaps during the transition. This pivotal choice, made with conviction and presented as progress, was the precise point where the logic of Germany's industrial system began its silent unraveling. A foundational strength, diverse, stable energy, was unwittingly transformed into a critical vulnerability, a dependency on a single, volatile external supplier, making the nation's economic heart increasingly susceptible to geopolitical tremors. You are watching a nation's future being reshaped, one policy at a time. This intricate web of decisions, seemingly rational at the time, reveals a universal truth. Grand strategies, when misaligned with fundamental dependencies, can inadvertently dismantle the very foundations they aim to strengthen. You might be contemplating similar shifts in your own nation, or perhaps witnessing their early ripple effects. Has a policy, once celebrated as visionary in your country, begun to show unexpected cracks, revealing hidden vulnerabilities? Share your perspective in the comments below, for your insights are crucial to understanding these complex global dynamics. And if you seek to truly comprehend how apparently sound choices can generate profound, long-term consequences, subscribe to our channel now. We are dedicated to connecting the crucial dots that others frequently overlook, offering clarity in an increasingly complex world. For Marcus Schmidt, immersed in his daily routine, these grand strategic shifts were initially abstract, distant thunder on a clear horizon. He continued his meticulous work, proud of his contribution to German engineering, trusting implicitly in the system that had always rewarded his dedication. The initial tremors were barely perceptible, perhaps a slight uptick in the price of a raw material, a marginal adjustment in a production forecast, or a passing mention of energy costs in a quarterly report. Nothing immediately alarming, nothing to suggest the bedrock beneath his feet was subtly fracturing. His world, built on the tangible pride of his profession and the unwavering reliability of German industry, still felt secure, insulated by a deep-seated belief in meritocracy where effort consistently yielded predictable, prosperous outcomes. He had done everything right and expected the system to uphold its end of the bargain. Yet the invisible erosion, born from that pivotal decision, began to manifest in subtle, concrete ways within the industry. Companies like Marcus's, once secure in their energy supply, found themselves increasingly vulnerable to price fluctuations they couldn't control. Suppliers started hinting at longer lead times for specific components, citing supply chain issues that masked deeper energy-related production constraints elsewhere. The hum of efficiency, once so constant, now carried faint, dissonant notes. While Marcus might attribute a minor production bottleneck to a temporary market anomaly or a competitor's misstep, the underlying truth was more insidious. The structural shifts were creating a new, unpredictable reality. The promise of an unshakable foundation was slowly, almost imperceptibly, giving way to an unsettling fragility, driven by unseen forces. The ground beneath the industrial giants was subtly shifting. The tension began to grow, a creeping unease that something fundamental was changing. The system, once a guarantor of stability and reward, now felt less predictable. Discussions in the break room shifted from production targets to the alarming rise in energy bills. Whispers of competitors relocating parts of their operations abroad became more frequent. Marcus, still committed to his craft, found his highly valued technical expertise increasingly overshadowed by abstract, uncontrollable external factors. The volatile price of natural gas, the unpredictable stability of the grid, the ever-present shadow of geopolitical events. The comfortable alignment between his dedicated effort and the system's promised prosperity was beginning to fray, creating a subtle but palpable dissonance. The very foundation of what he believed Germany stood for was slowly, silently, failing to deliver on its implicit promise. The initial tremors, once distant, now grew into a persistent hum of unease. A low-frequency vibration felt deep within the industrial heartland. The accelerated nuclear phase-out, a decision presented as a triumph of progress, had a direct, undeniable technical effect. It removed stable baseload power. This wasn't merely a statistic. It meant a gaping void in Germany's energy mix, one that could only be filled by the most readily available, seemingly endless alternative: Russian natural gas. You see, the system, once diversified and robust, now leaned precariously on a single, increasingly indispensable foreign lifeline. This accumulation of dependency, initially hailed as a shrewd interim solution, inadvertently transformed a foundational strength into a profound strategic vulnerability. The gears of the economic machine, once perfectly meshed, were beginning to grind, subtly altering the very rhythm of industrial life. This deepening reliance on Russian gas, initially a pragmatic bridge, soon transformed into a geopolitical anchor, dragging Germany into an increasingly perilous current. After 2014, as geopolitical tensions with Russia escalated, particularly following events in Ukraine, the illusion of an apolitical energy supply shattered. The once dependable flow of gas, now indispensable for German factories, became a lever, a strategic asset in a much larger geopolitical game. For Marcus, still focused on his chemical processes, this felt like an abstract threat, a distant rumble on the news. Yet, the accumulated effect of this growing dependency was insidious. Germany's industrial heart was becoming increasingly susceptible to external shocks, its robust economic health tied directly to the whims of a volatile supplier. The nation's future was being mortgaged, 1 cubic meter of gas at a time. Then came the final, devastating blow, tearing through the industrial landscape with the force of a hurricane. In 2022, Russia weaponized energy, turning off the gas taps, not as a technical failure, but as a deliberate act of economic warfare. The consequence was immediate and brutal. Gas prices, once a competitive advantage, skyrocketed to unimaginable levels, transforming a foundational input cost into an existential threat. Imagine a factory floor, once a symphony of productivity, now forced into a desperate silence. For Marcus's specialty chemicals company, and countless others in energy-intensive sectors like steel, glass, and fertilizer manufacturing, this wasn't a market fluctuation. It was an untenable burden, The very air they breathed, the processes they ran, suddenly became astronomically expensive, rendering decades of competitive advantage obsolete overnight. This energy shock rippled through the economy with destructive precision, forcing widespread production cuts across the industrial spectrum. Facilities that once operated 24/7 now idled for days or weeks, their furnaces cooling, their machinery silent. Companies were faced with an impossible choice: produce at a loss or simply stop. The impact wasn't just on output. It triggered significant deinvestments, as capital earmarked for innovation and expansion was diverted to cover exorbitant energy bills or, worse, fled the country entirely. This wasn't merely a financial hit, it was a systemic wound, directly impacting the livelihoods of skilled workers like Marcus, whose expertise suddenly felt devalued. The proud promise of a stable, prosperous future, built on German engineering, began to unravel before their very eyes, replaced by an unsettling, pervasive insecurity. For Marcus, the personal toll was immense, a profound sense of betrayal settling deep within him. He had done everything right, studied diligently, worked tirelessly, contributed his expertise to a vital industry. He believed in meritocracy, in a system where dedication yielded a predictable, prosperous future. Now, his highly valued technical skills, once the bedrock of his professional security, seemed utterly secondary, overshadowed by abstract, uncontrollable forces: the volatile price of gas, the unpredictable stability of the grid, the relentless shadow of geopolitical events. The plant, his professional home, now grappled with forced production cutbacks and increasingly serious discussions about relocating operations abroad. This stark contrast between the stable future he earned and the current reality of job insecurity and stagnant wages created a deep, unsettling sense of structural betrayal. You are witnessing a nation's foundational strengths turn into its greatest weaknesses, a complex unraveling that few truly explain. If you demand clarity on how global policies impact individual lives and shape the world around you, then hit that subscribe button now. Join a community that seeks to understand the precise mechanics behind these critical transformations, because the insights we uncover will continue to demystify the complex forces at play in our rapidly changing world. The antagonists in this unfolding drama are not individual villains, but a confluence of structural forces, policies that, while well-intentioned, became self-defeating. At the forefront are the Energiewende policies themselves, characterized by an aggressive, ideologically driven timeline for phasing out reliable energy sources. This wasn't merely a transition, it was a race, one that prioritized speed over stability, commitment over contingency. The nation committed to removing its nuclear fleet without sufficient transitional capacity readily available. You must understand, this wasn't an oversight. It was a deliberate strategic choice, driven by a powerful public consensus and deep-seated environmentalist sentiment that ultimately overlooked the fundamental, immutable requirements of a high-energy industrial economy. The very framework designed for progress began to work against its own people. Adding layers to this structural impediment were excessive bureaucratic hurdles and painfully slow permitting processes. Imagine a nation trying to build crucial new energy infrastructure, like power lines or LNG import terminals, only to be caught in a labyrinth of red tape that stifles adaptation and innovation. This systemic inertia, coupled with a political elite increasingly detached from the operational realities of energy-intensive heavy industry, meant abstract environmental goals and short-term electoral cycles often trumped long-term economic stability. The voices of those on the factory floor, the engineers and workers who understood the nuts and bolts of energy consumption, were increasingly drowned out by a narrative focused on theoretical ideals rather than practical necessities. Further exacerbating this precarious situation were European carbon pricing mechanisms and energy market structures that amplified price volatility, disproportionately burdening industries already struggling with rising costs. These policies, intended to incentivize green transitions, instead became an additional tax on the very industrial base they depended upon. And then, the ultimate structural antagonist revealed itself: the unmitigated reliance on Russian natural gas for transitional energy. This was the critical external dependency, transforming a perceived advantage, cheap, abundant gas, into a critical, easily weaponized vulnerability. The entire industrial edifice, once a symbol of self-reliance, became hostage to a single volatile supplier, its fate intertwined with geopolitical machinations far beyond its control. The definitive point of no return, the moment when the crisis became irreversible, was solidified after the Fukushima disaster in 2011. The decision to rapidly accelerate the nuclear phase-out locked Germany into an energy future heavily reliant on intermittent renewables and a bridge of imported fossil fuels, predominantly Russian gas. A more pragmatic approach, you see, would have involved a slower, more managed nuclear exit, substantial investment in domestic LNG import terminals before any geopolitical storm, and a far more realistic assessment of renewable energy's readiness for industrial-scale baseload power. This path was not taken, due to immense public and political pressure for rapid environmental transition, ideological resistance to nuclear power, and an overconfident belief in Germany's economic resilience. The cost of this missed opportunity was immense: a forfeiture of a stable, low-carbon energy source that could have buffered the impact of the gas crisis. From this precise point of no return, Germany's energy options became critically constrained, leaving its vital industrial sector exposed and vulnerable when Russian gas supplies were abruptly halted. What followed was an expensive and reactive scramble for alternatives, importing costly LNG and restarting dirty coal plants, actions that only further undermined its long-term industrial competitiveness and contradicted its own green ambitions. The nation was forced into a reactive spiral, its future shaped not by foresight, but by the unavoidable consequences of a past, pivotal decision. The path forward had narrowed, leaving little room for error or recovery. The validation of this thesis is now starkly evident in Germany's economic landscape, transforming from abstract warnings to concrete, verifiable facts. Global titans like BASF, once pillars of German industrial might, have not merely scaled back. They've announced permanent production cuts within Germany and a strategic, profound pivot, expanding massive investments into China and the United States. They openly cite prohibitive energy costs at home as the direct, undeniable cause. This isn't an isolated incident. Similar stories echo across the industrial heartland, with major steel producers such as ArcelorMittal and countless glass manufacturers reducing output, idling furnaces, or shuttering plants entirely. These are not market fluctuations. They are direct, structural consequences, the logical outcome of a system meticulously designed to fail its core industries, proving that the unraveling was entirely predictable. The human cost of this structural shift is equally palpable. moving beyond corporate boardrooms into the lives of ordinary citizens. You see a noticeable, unsettling increase in skilled workers and young professionals actively considering or already pursuing emigration. They seek more stable industrial jobs, lower energy costs, and a clearer future abroad, leading to a palpable sense of deindustrialization in former industrial heartlands. Economic data confirms this grim trend. Core manufacturing production indices show persistent stagnation. Real wages for industrial workers are failing to keep pace with inflation, and new industrial investments within Germany have significantly declined, with capital flowing relentlessly to regions offering more favorable energy conditions. These are not temporary setbacks. They represent an irreversible, fundamental shift in Germany's economic fabric, leaving a void that is proving impossible to fill. If this current, undeniable trajectory continues, Germany faces profound and systemic consequences that will ripple through generations. Future generations will inherit a dramatically diminished industrial base, meaning fewer high-paying, skilled jobs that once formed the bedrock of the middle class. This will inevitably impact social mobility, creating a significant hollowing out effect where the pathways to stable prosperity become increasingly scarce. Imagine a nation once celebrated for its engineering prowess, now struggling to provide its youth with the same opportunities for tangible, value-added work. The promise of upward mobility, once a given for diligent citizens, will recede, replaced by a tougher, less predictable economic reality where the rewards for hard work are no longer guaranteed. Germany's global role as Europe's industrial powerhouse, a position meticulously built over decades, will irrevocably diminish. This erosion will strip away its geopolitical leverage, critically weakening its capacity to drive European economic integration and influence global policy. The country risks becoming increasingly reliant on service industries, shifting profoundly away from the high-value exports that defined its economic identity, potentially transforming into a net importer of goods it once produced with unmatched efficiency and pride. This decline in industrial output will inevitably strain tax revenues, critically weakening the social welfare systems that underpin civil society and diminish Germany's influential voice in crucial global economic forums. These are the unavoidable outcomes of its chosen path. You are witnessing a profound transformation, a complex unraveling that few truly explain. If you demand clarity on how global policies impact individual lives and reshape the world around you, then hit that subscribe button now. Join a community that seeks to understand the precise mechanics behind these critical transformations, because the insights we uncover will continue to demystify the complex forces at play in our rapidly changing world. We track these developments, connect the dots, and prepare you for what comes next. The very social market economy model, an intricate framework built upon a robust industrial foundation and broad social consensus, will be fundamentally challenged. This erosion will lead to increased social inequality, as the gap between those who adapt to a service-based economy and those left behind by deindustrialization widens. You will witness potential political fragmentation, as frustration mounts and the national unity forged in post-war reconstruction begins to fray under economic strain. The implicit promise that hard work guarantees a stable, middle-class existence, once a cornerstone of German society, will be broken, replaced by an unsettling uncertainty that reshapes the national character and future prospects. The German experience offers a stark and undeniable lesson. a powerful universal pattern unfolding before your eyes. Ambitious ideological transitions, when pursued without a pragmatic understanding of fundamental economic dependencies and geopolitical realities, can inadvertently dismantle the very foundations of prosperity they aim to preserve. This narrative exposes a dangerous illusion: the belief that a nation can rapidly decouple from its energy reality and core industrial requirements without inflicting severe, often irreversible, damage to its economic core. It's a powerful reminder that even the most well-intentioned policies can become self-defeating when divorced from the practicalities of a high-energy, globally competitive industrial economy. This unraveling further exposes the critical fragility inherent in complex industrial systems when energy security and affordability are sacrificed at the altar of accelerated ideological goals. You are witnessing how even the most robust economies, nations renowned for their foresight and engineering precision, are not immune to self-inflicted structural wounds. The case of Germany is not an anomaly. It is a profound demonstration of how systemic vulnerabilities, when left unaddressed or even exacerbated by policy, will inevitably lead to predictable, detrimental outcomes. Understanding this mechanism is crucial, because the same forces, the same misjudgments, could be at play in other economies, laying the groundwork for similar future challenges. Understanding Germany's industrial predicament is therefore crucial for any nation contemplating radical shifts in its economic or energy policy. It provides a powerful cautionary tale about the high, often irreversible, costs of unexamined, ideologically driven transitions. This journey through Germany's industrial heartland reveals that prosperity is not merely a given. It is painstakingly built upon foundational principles of energy realism, economic pragmatism, and a sober assessment of global dependencies. The future is not a matter of chance. It is the inevitable sum of decisions made today. The silence in those factories, once a hum of global commerce, now speaks volumes about the price of neglecting fundamental truths.